eight students did not reach the minimum criterion, which is 72. And also, this is best for from the interview with the teacher. It's really connected the first observation, which is with the interview. This indicates that students struggle to reason mathematically. So several factors potentially contribute to the low reasoning ability, which is the first one is teacher-centered instruction, limited use of interactive digital media, and the lack of structure reasoning-oriented learning stage. So to address this issue, a structure and student-centered learning model is needed. The VERA model focus, explore, reflect, and apply organized student learning into systematic stage that support reasoning development. When assisted by the Matigan platform, students can explore mathematical concepts interactively through visual and dynamic representation. So previous studies have shown that Vera model improve critical thinking and reasoning skills. Matigan enhance student understanding of geometric concepts. However, these studies examine the model and the platforms separately. And limited research integrate the Vera model with interactive digital technology, specifically to enhance student mathematical reasoning in the topic of similarity at the middle school level. So therefore, this study aims to investigate the effect of the Vera model assisted by Matigot on student mathematical reasoning ability in similarity learning. Okay, so also this study employed a quantitative approaching using a quasi-experiment design. Specifically, I applied a non-equivalent pretest post control group design. For the participant, is grade 7 student from one of the SMPN in Sumedang, which is to intake class were selected through group level random sampling consisting of 52 students in total. Okay, for the instrument, the measure, the improvement, I use a mathematical reasoning test, which is a pre-test and post-test, and also classroom observation conducted to ensure the implementation of the Vera stage. So before analyzing the learning outcome, I ensure that the Vera model was properly implemented. The observation results show that the implementation rate was categorized as a very good, with an average of 93%. Student engagement also increased across the three meetings, indicating that the learning model was carried out effectively. Okay, from the improvement of mathematical reasoning, the improvement of student mathematical reasoning was analyzed using the NGAN score. The experimental class obtained an NGAN of 0.6587, which is categorized as moderate improvement. Meanwhile, the control class obtained an NGAN of 0.4026, which is also categorized as moderate. Although both classes fall into the same category, the experimental class show a higher level of improvement compared to the control class. Okay, the hypothesis testing to determine whether the differences between the two groups was statistically significant, an independent sample t-test was conducted. The result showed that the significance value, sig2 tail, is 0.000, which is lower than 0.05. This indicates that there is a statistically significant difference between the experimental class and the control class. Therefore, the Vera model assisted by Matigun has a significant effect on students' mathematical reasoning. So the improvement in the experimental class may be influenced by the causes. So for the conclusion, this study concludes that the Vera model assisted by Matigon effectively improves student mathematical reasoning. The improvement is statistically significant and higher than of exponential learning. Thus, the integration of structured learning models and interactive digital technology can be considered a promising approach to enhance mathematical reasoning in the middle school mathematics. So that's all from me. That's all that I can say for today. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I give this back to Mr. Bill. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for Ms. Fahla Wulan Fauzia. It is a very interesting research you present us right now. And for the effective time, I will open the discussion for one question. Maybe want to ask, you can kindly up your hand or open your mic directly. It's okay. Please. Okay. So maybe I will be uh, the first one to ask you. Yeah. Okay, Ms. Fahala, it is very interesting that you use technology, right, to Vera model. Yeah, but I won't ask about the quantitative process. I won't ask about Metigon. So actually,
Mhm.
what is Metigon and how you use it?
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Mr. Bill. Okay, for the Matigon is a short word from a mathematical playground. So, which is I use this from geometry because it's making student literally easy to visualize about the similarity because the chapter that I use for this research is about similarity. If I can show you, but it's not easy to show you about this. So I using this from a stage focus. So I try to show the student the problem that from our reality, and I give that to them so they can see through the Matigon itself. So they shouldn't imagine that because it's like just first time for them got this topic. So I just try to visualize their reality with a Matigon. And then for the second stage, which is the explore, so I making Matigon as a justify or yeah the tools for them to try proof if their answer is right or not, because we can try to place with the size and also the angle, try something like that, and it's making them believe that their answer is right through Matigon itself. Okay, so that's all for from that question. That's all that I can answer. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you, thank you. It is a free tools, right?
Right, is it right? But it's literally strict. We cannot explore more because Matigon. How I say this? So people who make the Matigon just making Matigon like that. So we just can use the tools and we kind of explore like booklet or a word wall and something else like that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms.
My
Fahla,
pleasure.
for your enlightenment and presentation today. Okay. Please give applause to Ms. Fahla. Yeah. How to read in ah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Fahla. We'll move to the second speaker today. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. It's nice to meeting you again, Mr. Bill.
Yes. Okay. For the next speaker, for the next second speaker, we have here Miss Ulfa Dwi Indriani. Hello, Miss Ulfa.
Halo.
Hello. Okay. Here I have a schedule that you will speak or present about analysis of students' mathematical representation in solving contextual issues in junior high school, right? Okay, so maybe the time is yours, please, Miss Ulfa.
Okay, thank you. I will share screen. Ini aku. Udah. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for opportunity given to give me to present my research analysis of student mathematical representation in solving contextual problems at junior high school. My name is Ulfa Dwi Indriani from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, supervised by Professor Dr. Nandang Priyatna, MPD. In this presentation, I will explain the background, urgency, and research problem, research object, method, result, discussion, dan conclusion of this study. Mathematics learning at the junior high school level play an important role in developing student logical, analytic, and creative thinking skill. One essential ability that supports this skill is mathematical representation ability. Uh, Many students still experience difficulty in using representation over reality, especially when dealing with contextual or word problems. Students often directly reframe calculates without first interpreting contextual information or building proper representation. The study is important because mathematical representation is a key component of problem solving and mathematical literacy. In reality, many junior high school students struggle to represent contextual problem, problems accurately. Weak representation skill limits student conceptual understanding and reasoning process. From a pedagogical and from a pedagogical representative teacher and clear. Therefore, this study focused on the following research problem: how students use visual, verbal, and symbolic representation, what specific difficult student experience, and how students transform narrative information into mathematical models. Research and gap novelty. Previous study mostly focused on the students' representation ability and in general, not on specific and detailed difficulties. Research has reported students' weakness in identifying key information in word problems, connecting visual, verbal, and symbolic representation, and explaining reasoning processing verbally. However, limit studies analysis these difficulties in integrate manner. The study offer novelty by analyze difficult in visual, verbal, and symbolic representations in detail. Focus especially on contextual problem solving at junior high school. The study employed a descriptive qualitative approach and the research was conducted at SMP Kartika 11 2 Bandung involved grade 9 students select based on variance in mathematical ability. The instrument used contextual problem solving tests, semi-construct interview, and class observation. The research showed that student mathematical representation ability are unbalanced. Symbolic representation is the most dominant and strongest. Visual representation is low, with almost all students not drawing diagrams or sketches. Verbal representation is incomplete. A student tend to write final answers without explaining step or reasoning. Student work analyze and interview finding. Analysis of students' work show that students directly calculate using formulas, rarely, rarely visually problems, provide weak explainings of solution step. Interview finds support this result. High ability student consider symbolic methods faster. Uh, Medium ability student are answer about drawing correctly. Low ability student do not know what to visual and real to trial and error calculation. First, symbolic representation dominant, but is often used a shortcut rather than a part of deep understanding. Learning tend to be procedural, where students think question equal formula equal answer. Second, visual representation is a weak aspect. Students rarely draw diagrams or visual models and struggle to transform verbal information to visual form. This lack of visualization led to weak conceptual understanding. Third, verbal representation is weak and under unstructured. Students usually write only final answer without explaining reasoning or solution step, indicating weak mathematical communication. For this finding highlight is importance of representation scaffolding. Teacher need to get good students to use visual, verbal, and symbolic representation in an integrate way through drawing practice, verbal explaining, guiding equations, and class discussion. In conclusion, students' mathematical representation skill are unbalanced, while symbolic representation is dominant, visual and verbal representation remain weak. The symbolic dominant does not reflect comprehensive mathematical understanding and may lead to misconception. Therefore, strengthening the connection between representation is essential to support deeper conceptual understanding. Suggestion teachers are encouraged to explicitly train visual and verbal representation and course explain and discussion of solution step. Uh, implements balanced representation based learning approach. Thank you for attention. I hope this study can contribute to improving mathematical learning practice, especially in developing students' mathematical representation skill. I return to session to moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Ulfa Dwi Indriani, for the enticement presentation. It is a very good presentation, and maybe this room is not only quantitative, right? Your research is qualitative, Miss Ulfa.
Yes,
Oh yes, okay. So,
qualitative.
so maybe the title of this room is quantitative and qualitative research. Okay. So I will
Okay.
open for one question. Who want to ask, please? Just open the mic or up your hand. Okay. Okay. Maybe it is a very clear presentation, so we don't need to answer, right? Okay. So I will give Miss Ulfa. Would you like to give a closing statement? No? Yes or no?
No,
Okay.
it is.
Okay, but maybe enough. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation, Miss Ulfa. We will wait for another presentation and of your research. Okay. Okay. Give applause for Miss Ulfa. Okay. The third speaker, we would like to invite Miss. See my schedule. There is Miss Tanti S. Tamrin. This is from Tadulako University, and also from social science, from sociology. Is it right, Miss Tanti?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you for
Okay. So
inviting. I just would like to check my signal if you receive me well.
yes, I received you
The
well.
audio, okay. Thank you very much.
So maybe I will not waiting for anymore. Please, Miss Tanti, you can give your presentation, your best presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm asking the help from the moderator to upload my presentation because
Okay.
we are far away from the. It's already night here.
Okay.
It's okay, and the signal is not really good.
Please wait. I will share your presentation. Yeah.
Thank you.
You see my screen? Is this your presentation, Miss?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, I will make it big. Please, Miss Tanti, time is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bill. Good afternoon, researchers and professor. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tanti Tamrin. I'm a graduate student of Tadulako University. Today, actually, I will present a combined methodological approach that developed to strengthen descriptive qualitative research, particularly in managing complex and multi-source field data. This presentation is actually introduced two integrated method, what I call Tadulako coding, and the second is field navigation. Please go to the second slide. Okay, researchers, in this presentation, I would introduce actually two complementary methods. One is Tadulako coding, and the second is field navigation. The Tadulako coding is actually a structural qualitative data analysis method that apply to interview and using by the FGD or focus group discussion transcript. It's organized data according to the predefined research objective. And field navigation is actually a spatial mapping method that organize coded qualitative data by linking them to specific source and location. Together, this method actually connect the analytical meaning with the data origin and the spatial method. Later, maybe you will ask me, what is the connection between this method with the mathematics? Yeah, I will answer it later. Okay, we can go to the third slide, please. Okay, why actually this combined method is needed in the qualitative research? Let me make it simple like this. Descriptive qualitative research, it's actually typically generate fragmented and multi-source of data. Interviews, document, institutional record are often actually collected across multiple location. Yeah, so we have a bulky data, so many data. So this actually create risk of data overlap. Yeah, and also create the contextual loss and weak traceability. So in many cases, analytical interpretation actually becomes separated from the original data source and the location. So it's really difficult to trace it back. So therefore, a structured approach is actually required to systematically the link between the meaning of the data that we gathering, the source, and the location. So stop this. Actually, this combined method address this structural issue. Okay. Can we go to the fourth? Okay. This is how the methodological flow. Yeah. The analytical sequence begin with the clearly defined research objective. After that, we go to the Tadulako coding. It's actually we conducted first. It will ensure that interview data are systematically reduced and aligned with this objective. Yeah, so we using the code that will be aligned at. And then we go to the field navigation to organizing the coding data, especially using the map. Yeah, actually, we can use a lot of provider of online mapping. Yeah, to make it easier for the researcher. Sometimes I propose to use the Google Map. It's easy. It's easy, and then it's on. It's also can be accessed freely, and it's accurate. It's you can trace it really easy in the field. Okay. This is actually to strengthen the traceability, and we can structure the analysis. Now, this process actually culminates the qualitative analysis and writing. It will help researchers a lot to to clustering the bulky data that we gathering from the field, and then to make sure that we can link between the meaning, the source, and the location. So this is the most important thing. This actually reflect the interactive analytical process where the redaction and the organization of the process, it will support the interpretation of the data. So we can go to the slide number 5. Why coding have to come first, not the mapping first? Actually, coding should conduct first because the analytical relevance must be established before we do the spatial organization. Yeah. The Tadulako coding is actually determine which data segment are related to the specific research objective. Without these steps, actually, spatial mapping will remain descriptive rather than analytical. So we have to do the coding first, and then we move to the mapping at the second phase. So by placing the coding first, the method will ensure that conceptual consistency and methodological rigor of our data. You can go to the slide 6. This is actually the method to do the Tadulako coding. As I explained before, that sometimes I propose to the student just using the online and free mapping provider. Yeah, but if you would like to protect your mapping, your data map, you can use the map provider that you can lock. Yeah, and but you have to pay for that. This is actually depend on the researcher, but the Google Map is okay for the if you would like to make it on publish and then go online. So the coding, it's actually applied a structural 3-digit system to the interview and FGD transcript. The first digit actually, this is about the Tadulako coding. Yeah. The first digit is actually correspond to the research objective. The second digit is informant or the interview sequence. And the last digit identifies the data segment order within this transcript. So this is not labeling, but this is more than we clustering the data, and then we filtering, and then at the end, we will put it into the mapping process. Yeah, the location. So we can go to the second method, the field navigation. Yeah. In the field navigation, we spatially organize all the coded qualitative data using the layered digital mapping. Yeah. The primary data, such as the informant, and the secondary data, such as the institution or the documentary source, we map all them within the distinct layer. Yeah. Each map point is linked to the coded transcript segment, data source, and location. In the next slide, there is a example how it look like in the Google Map. Yeah. I will, and that's also the link. Might be some of you would like to check how it works, but this is actually no data protected content. Then and you can go to the link and see how it works. Okay. So this slide is actually illustrate how both methods operate together. Yeah. So we can go to the almost last slides. So okay. The spatial maps actually does not represent the raw data. It's represent the coded data that have already been analytically filtered. Yeah, so we have filtered that and then we put it there. So why this is actually very important for us that using the qualitative method. This is actually to help us to trace back the source of information that we're gathering in the research, in the field research. Yeah. And then this is also will conclude my presentation that this methodological contribution is we try to combine the approach lies in systematically linking analysis and spatial organization. Yeah, it will reduce the fragmentation in qualitative field research and strengthen traceability from field collection to manuscript writing. And then we come to the closing. Why it's connected with the mathematics. Yeah, because mathematics is actually the foundation of the spatial analysis. So there is a specific what do you call it, explanation we have in our research about how this mapping procedure is linked with the mathematics. And then the mathematics, it's also quantifying the spatial relationship. It's a calculate distance, yeah. The calculate distance actually also it makes the spatial dependency and autocorrector, and it's also analyze the spatial distribution patterns of the data. Yes, and it's very important in the sociology, and then we can see the pattern of the what do you call it, the spatial using the statistical method, yeah. And then the most important is actually math. It's actually computerized and what do you call it, a algorithmic, yeah, algorithmic appliance. It's helped us the researcher to process the spatial data in the what do you call it, in the very structural manners. It will help us also to perform the interpretation and spatial prediction of the social behavior using that. So that's all from my presentation. I hope it will be useful. Thank you very much. And
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Tanti. It is a very interesting presentation. It is your own methods, Ms. Tanti?
it's actually I invent no, not I alone, but I have my senior actually 2 years senior 2 years 2+ from me, and then we try to develop this method to help us, like I say before, organize the data and then make it very structural using mapping and mathematical algorithm. So it's and it helped us a lot. My senior dissertation using this method, and my dissertation now also using this method to help me, yeah, process the spatial coordinates and also perform the interpretation and spatial prediction, yeah. And see how the social behavior is actually, it's also there's a link with the location Yeah. So and it's very very helpful.
Very interesting method. Maybe sometimes we will invite you maybe to discuss some research, and it is very interesting because we use coding too in qualitative research, and also even if we mathematics education, we also do qualitative, and it is a big help for big data in qualitative. Okay.
Thank you very much, Pak Bill. Thank you very much. I will be very grateful. Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe we open the discussion first. Maybe some of you want to ask Ms. Tanti about the method. Tadulako coding is a very special name for his method, maybe. This, or it is very clear.
Thank you very much.
Okay, okay. Maybe we can give applause to Ms. Tanti for the insightful presentation. And Miss Nanti, because I have your presentation, your PPT, your PowerPoint, would you like to ask to share your presentation? Maybe would you like to read it? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much, sir. It will be. It's some of my friend is asking me why you presented in the mathematical international seminar, and I try to explain that's actually mapping. It's really mathematic. We calculate the we'll calculate the distance. We calculate the algorithm. So it's mathematic. The mathematic is the foundation of doing a mapping. I say so. So I'm very grateful that I can join this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nanti, hope you enjoy this international seminar. Okay, thank you. We move to another speaker. We have Miss Dwiani Lisdia Kartika. Hello, Miss Dwiani.
Yes, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. My voice is clear.
Yes, very clear, Miss Dwiani.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
we will give you time to present your presentation. Please, Miss Dwiani, time is yours.
Yes. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for I'm sorry, I'm not ready. Okay. Yes. Thank you for being here today. My name is Dwiana Lucia Kartika. I'm a doctoral student in mathematics education at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And today I'd like to share our study entitled Self-Efficacy and Spatial Reasoning and GeoGebra Supported Geometry Learning through Digital Batik Design. This research was conducted together with my colleague, Yukti Nurjana from Al Irsyad Al Islamia Boarding School, Purwokerto. So today I will talk about how technology, culture, and cognitive factors interact in geometry learning. Why this study matters? Let me start with a simple idea. We all know that digital tools are transforming mathematics education. In geometry, visualization is extremely important, and this is where GeoGebra becomes powerful. GeoGebra allows students to dynamically manipulate shapes, explore transformation, and see immediate visual feedback. But technology alone is not enough. Learning becomes more meaningful when it connects to students' real-life context and cultural identity. And this leads us to Batik. Why Batik in geometry learning? Because Batik patterns naturally contain geometric transformation like translation, reflection, rotation, and dilatation. Batik is also recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage. So instead of learning transformation in abstract shapes, students design digital batik patterns using GeoGebra. In this way, mathematics becomes culturally grounded and more engaging. And now, although many studies show that GeoGebra improves learning outcomes, there are still gaps. Most studies focus on achievement, but fewer studies examine self-efficacy, spatial reasoning, and especially the role in culturally integrated digital environments. This is even more limited at the grade 9 level, so we wanted to explore this area. So our study aims to examine how self-efficacy and spatial reasoning influence geometry learning outcomes in a GeoGebra-based digital basic learning environment. More specifically, we ask, how does self-efficacy influence geometry learning outcomes? How does spatial reasoning influence geometry learning outcomes? And how do both variables work together? And this is conceptual framework from our research. And the research design, we use a quantitative correlational design. We involve 74 grade 9 students from an international baccalaureate or IB-oriented middle school in Indonesia. All students were already familiar with GeoGebra. We conducted multiple linear regression analysis, controlling for prior mathematics ability. We also checked all statistical assumptions like normality, linearity, and multicollinearity before running the regression. And for learning activities, during the lesson, students created digital batik designs using GeoGebra. They applied translation, reflection, rotation, and dilatation. The tasks were creative and performance-based, so students were not just solving textbook problems, they were designing mathematical art. And this is examples of students' digital batik designs created using GeoGebra. And now I will explain the instruments used in the study. We use 4 data collection tools. First, a prior mathematics ability test. This was used to measure students' basic mathematical knowledge and as control variable in the analysis. Second, a self-efficacy questionnaire. Third, a spatial reasoning test. This assesses students' ability to visualize and understand geometric transformation. And finally, we use a performance-based rubric to evaluate students' digital batik designs created with GeoGebra. Now let's move to the results. The overall regression model was significant. However, individually, prior mathematics ability was a significant predictor. Self-efficacy was positive, but not statistically significant. And spatial reasoning was also positive, but not significant. This result was quite interesting. So how do we interpret this? One possible explanation is that GeoGebra provides strong visual scaffolding. The instructional design may reduce individual differences. In other words, technology may function as a cognitive equalizer. Students with lower self-efficacy or spatial reasoning may still perform well because the digital environment supports them visually and interactively. And to conclude, prior mathematical knowledge remains crucial. Self-efficacy and spatial reasoning may still play a role, but their effects might be mediated by instructional design. Integrating GeoGebra with digital batik supports meaningful and culturally responsive geometry learning. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to your question. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very awesome, Miss Biani. Let us proceed to the discussion session. Maybe you want to ask about batik, yeah? Please just open your mic or you can up your hand. Okay. Okay, maybe it's a very clear presentation, Miss Biani. Okay, but I would like to ask you maybe some topic because you are doing multiple regression, but I don't ask about it. I want to ask about what I see earlier. There's a batik in GeoGebra. It is a student who make it, or yeah, I want to ask
Student, grade 9 student.
grade 9 student. For how
Yes.
long?
Uh, Maybe in last semester, it is in geometric transformation material. So when they enter to geometric transformation and they start to make the batik.
Okay. So maybe it is about 3 weeks maybe, or 4 weeks, 1 month.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yeah, maybe 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks.
4 weeks. It's very interesting. Yeah. Your student or the student of your research place is a very good student. Yeah. Okay. Is there any question from other participant? Okay, maybe we can conclude this session of your presentation. Thank you very much, Miss Vianney. Please give applause to Miss Vianney. I will give applause to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming for this international seminar today. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to the last speaker today. I see here there is Miss Anissa Husnul Haq. Hello, Miss Anissa.
Hello, sir.
Oh, you are joined with two devices.
Yeah, first I would like to ask the moderator for permission to use two device because my camera laptop cannot use.
Okay, it's okay. Uh, okay, so you are a student of master program in University Indonesia of
Yes.
Education. Yes, and
Yeah.
mathematics education too, yeah. Okay, so you are growing. Is quantitative too your research?
Quali.
Quali.
Yeah,
It's
qualitative.
an implementation and it is quali, not an experiment in quantitative. Yeah.
Implementation qualitative, descriptive.
Implementation qualitative. Okay, so we'll hear it out. So please, time is your.
Okay, thank you for opportunity. Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to welcome all of you to my presentation today. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Anissa, and I am a master student in mathematics education at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, and this is my team, Mr. Yaya Sukjaya Kusuma. And on this occasion, I would like to present to you about our entitled Implementation of Guided Discovery Learning in Mathematics Education for Grade 10 of the Merdeka Curriculum, implementation, challenges, and impact. So there are several points that will be elaborated in this presentation. The first point about introduction, and then methodology, result and discussion, and the last point about conclusion. So without any further ado, let's begin the presentation with the first point. For the first point about introduction, mathematics learning often face problems such as student memorizing formulas without understanding concept, low student participation, and teacher-centered interaction. Based on interview with a mathematics teacher at SMA Nugraha Bandung, students generally perceive mathematics as consisting only of formulas, symbol, and numbers, and believe that mastering it requires memorization. As a result, learning tend to focus on memorization, leading to low conceptual understanding, particularly in applying mathematics to real-life problem solving. Meanwhile, the Merdeka curriculum emphasizes student-centered learning to develop conceptual understanding, learning independence, and critical thinking skill. One effort to address this problem is the use of the guided discovery learning model. According to Hamza and Patompo, GDL is based on constructivist theory, encouraging students to discover concept through structure activities with teacher guidance, which aligns with the principle of the Merdeka curriculum by positioning student as an active participant in learning. However, the implementation of GDL in mathematics classroom still face challenges. So, in this study, aims to analyze the implementation of guided discovery learning in grade 10 mathematics learning under the Merdeka curriculum in terms of learning implementation, challenges encountered, and impact on learning. Moving on to the methodology, the study employed a qualitative approach with a descriptive design. I'm gaining an in-depth understanding of the implementation process of the guided discovery learning model in mathematics learning. The research subject consists of the mathematics teacher and grade 10 students who were selected purpose because they were directly involved in the implementation. The study focused on analyzing and implementation of the learning process, the challenges faced during implementation, and its impact on student learning activities and concept understanding. Next, result and discussion. This section will explain several points. The first point, implementation of guided discovery learning. The results show that the implement of guided discovery learning in grade 10 mathematics learning was carried out effectively in accordance with the learning syntax, starting from stimulation to generalization. The teacher acts as a facilitator who guided students in discovering mathematical concepts through structure, activities, and discussions. And the second point, student engagement in the learning process. Student engagement increased during the stimulation and problem statement stages as contextual problems successfully stimulate student curiosity and encourage active participants. Discover-based learning provided opportunities for students to explore idea, express opinion, and participate in discussion. And the third point about development of mathematical reasoning. During the data collection and data processing stage, students were actively involved in exploration, discussion, and information processing. These activities support the gradual development of student mathematical reason and conceptual understanding. And the fourth point, concept verification and generalization. The verification stage helps students correct misconceptions through classroom discussion and reflection activities. However, in the generalization stage, some students still require structured scaffolding to independently formulate mathematical conclusion. This is indicated that teacher guidance remains important in support student during the transition from guided learning to independent understanding as suggested by Pak Pahan 2025. And the fifth, challenges in implementation. Several challenges were identified during the implementation of GDL, including limited instructional time, difference in student prior abilities, and learning habits that were still teacher-centered. This factor influenced by the effectiveness of the discovery process, as some students required more time and guidance to actively participate in learning and activities. And the last point, proposed solution. To address these challenges, several solutions are proposed, including more effective planning of learning syntax, the use of structured student worksheet to guide the discovery process, adaptive scaffolding according to student need, and in addition, gradual habituation toward student-centered learning is necessary to help students become more independent and active in the learning process. Finally, the student conclude that with the discovery learning can be effectively implementation in grade 10 mathematics learning within the Merdeka curriculum, as all learning stages were conducted properly. Although the generalization stage still require structure scaffolding, the implementation face challenges such as limited instructional time, different in students' pure abilities, and student depends on teacher explanation. Nevertheless, GDL had the positive impact by increasing student participation, confident, independent problem-solving ability, and deeper conceptual understanding. Therefore, teachers are encouraged to design GDL learning systematically, provide appropriate scaffolding, and adjust instructional strategies to student characteristic. Future research is recommended to examine GDL implementation in different contexts and approach to strengthen their finding. That's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to now to return the session to the moderator for the Q&A sessions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for Miss Anissa Husnul Haq. It is a very interesting presentation. So the quantitative in our title, maybe in the next research, right? Okay, let's open the Q&A session. Maybe one of you want to ask. I will open for one question. You can up your hand or you can just ask directly. Okay, maybe it's also the same, right? Your presentation is very clear. Maybe our speaker today is a very clear presenter. So, okay, please give applause to Miss Anissa Husnul. Thank you very much, Miss Anissa, for coming for our international seminar. Hope you enjoy and you can find any knowledge, anything in this session. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we are now in the last of our session. It is a closing. Yeah, for me as a moderator, I would like to say thank you to all participants and please forgive me if there is mistakes in my voice, in my acting. Hope you enjoy this session. So Alhamdulillah, we have successfully completed today's session. And for the after event, like a certificate and another occasion, you can just contact in WhatsApp group or you can just directly contact to the committee, Punadia. Yeah. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all invited speakers, all participants, and all presenters today. May this seminar strengthen our academic collaboration. And thank you. Thank you very much. I will close it by Alhamdulillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Billy.
Thank
Thank
you, Miss
you.
Tanti. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, everyone.